Well, what do you know? Robinson Cano has been designated for assignment as the New York Mets cut their roster from 28 players to 26 players. In this video, I'm going to talk about Robbie Cano, don't you know, being designated for assignment and the other roster move the Mets made, sending down Yohan Lopez, and taking a look at how this is going to impact the team not having these two players here, and just an overall look at the entire roster as currently constructed. If you like this video, if you're glad Robinson Cano is not going to be taking up any more ABs and we don't have to watch him anymore, make sure to leave a like, comment down below. What are your thoughts on the Mets roster moves? And did you think this was actually going to happen? Because I know this is something that pretty much all Met fans wanted, but just didn't really seem realistic that the Mets were actually going to give a guy $40 million to just go away. And to us, it may seem like a lot of money, but to the guy making the decisions, that's pocket change. And if you're new here, you want to help the channel grow, you know the tradition. Subscribe, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger, tell a dog, whoever is greatly appreciated. So let's talk about Robinson Cano. I mean, obviously we know, just watching the game, just looking at the numbers, this guy was not doing much and there wasn't much going for him. Robinson Cano is 39 years old and he's coming off a PED suspension. So you kind of had a feeling that this guy does not have too much left in the tank. If a guy has been caught with performance-enhancing drugs a second time, that gives you a pretty good indicator of their self-confidence. And it was to the point where Robinson Cano knew that he was struggling so badly in 2019. He was like, man, I got to get back to where I used to be. I got to take some PEDs a second time just to try to have a decent season in 2020. But he did pay the price, losing all of 2021. And now this year, you could just see that this is not the same guy. There were times where Robinson Cano was putting the ball in play and was going the other way, but there was no power behind it. Imagine if you had a performance enhancer that would actually let that ball travel a little more. But the other problem with Robinson Cano was just the quality of at-bats he was taking night in, night out. This is a guy that when it comes to chase rate, he was down in the 1 or 2nd percentile, and that's not a good thing. That's the complete opposite side of the spectrum. That is as bad as you could possibly be when it comes to chasing. So it's not like Robinson Cano was having some pitches where you're like, oh, he fouled off some tough pitches. He's just barely missing it. I mean, oh, he was so close to hitting that one. That wasn't the case at all. This guy was way off. It just seemed like every at-bat, it was only 3 to 5 pitches, and they usually ended in a strikeout. He really just wasn't doing anything all too productive, and if he's not hitting, he does not provide much value, because while he could play second base, all he could do is get to the routine ball and catch the ball if it's hit at him. If it's not, he's not going to be able to range to rob some hits and make some fantastic plays. You're not going to see that. And obviously we know he cannot move well on the bases. Being 39 years old, it's pretty tough to be flying around the bases at your advanced age. And just in the regular numbers, I mean, he was batting 195, 233 on base percentage, 501 OPS, and if you want to go a little further, 53 WRC plus, and negative 0.4 WAR. I mean, it was almost impossible to be worse than Robinson Cano was. And just the fact that this guy was here, previous ownership, previous regime, it just felt like he was the last piece of the Wilpon / Brodie Van Wagenen era. All the mistakes that they made, all the not good things that Steve Cohen and company had to inherit when they took over the Mets, is like this was the last really big mistake that the New York Mets were able to free themselves from. You got rid of Familia, you got rid of some other guys. Now that Cano was gone, you really feel like this is the Steve Cohen Mets. This is the team that they're trying to assemble that is going to be a win-now team. And Mets Weekly, I said this felt like the right decision because the Mets have come too far to have a guy like Robinson Cano bring them down, because far too often he got the majority of the starts as DH, and he was taking some reps away from Dominic Smith, who had a huge game last night, and taking some reps away from J.D. Davis, who's going to start tonight against Atlanta. We'll see how he does. But we know that J.D. Davis is a guy that the more he plays, the better he plays. He's a guy that needs those consistent reps to get his timing, get his rhythm, and to be a productive hitter. So in that regard, the fact that Dominic Smith and J.D. Davis are both going to be playing more, they're going to perform even better. So this is pretty much an addition by subtraction. And we know that Francisco Lindor wanted Robinson Cano to stay. He likes Robinson Cano, but unfortunately, you can't have Francisco Lindor get everything he wants. Steve Cohen told Billy Epler, make the best business decision, regardless of money. It would have been unfair to maybe send Dominic Smith down or maybe get rid of Travis Jankowski just because Francisco Lindor likes the guy. And now if you're Robinson Cano, it's where do you turn next? I mean, there was a report that Billy Epler said that Robinson Cano could get some reps in the minor leagues for the Mets. but I don't think Robinson Cano is going to be willing to do that. I feel like, knowing his ego, he would rather just get released and test the free agent market. And I got a spoiler for your test. It's not going to go well. I don't really see any major league team picking up Robinson Cano, despite how cheap the contract might be. Even if it was minimum salary, I don't even know if the team would be interested in him. There was nothing encouraging from Robinson Cano, no matter what numbers you look at, that said, oh, this guy's going to turn around, he's just getting unlucky, or this is the reason why he's not hitting. No, I mean, this guy looks completely lost. It reminded me a lot of Yoenis Cespedes in 2020, a guy that was just coming in there at bat after at bat, was just striking out, not putting together productive ABs, didn't really look that interested, and now he's going to be joining Yoenis Cespedes on that very good team, the good old couch. I mean, it's the same team I'm playing for as well, so we could all be teammates of the sit on the couch and watch the games. But I tell you what, if Robinson Cano wants to come to Long Island Ducks, I'm all ears. If he wants to come to Long Island, I'll welcome him with open arms. As far as the other roster move, Yohan Lopez getting sent down after he had just gotten called back up the other day. Mets legend Yohan Lopez. Met fans have really come to love this guy because he hits batters and he throws inside. I don't know if they're all intentional or it just might be that Yohan Lopez's command is And now the New York Mets have made those decisions. Let's see how the current roster is right now. So in the starting rotation, obviously you got Max Scherzer, you got Chris Bassett, you also have Tyler McGill, Carlos Carrasco, and Taijuan Walker. The rotation has been really good so far. I imagine it will continue that way. So that area of the team is looking good right now. As far as the bullpen, you got Edwin Diaz, Seth Lugo, Trevor May, Adam Ottavino, Joely Rodriguez, Chasen Shreve, Drew Smith, and Trevor Williams. Now, the bullpen, for the most part, has been good. Obviously, it's had its bumps in the road. It's had plenty of games that it's blown and has not gotten the job done. But I will say that, for the most part, the Mets bullpen has been good. The one caveat I have is Trevor Williams. This last time this guy pitched was April 23rd against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So it's been over a week since we've seen Trevor Williams. He's a guy that they got to find a role for. I imagine it's going to be the long relief role or the guy you bring in if it's a blowout one way or the other. The Mets have a doubleheader tomorrow. David Peterson will be starting one of those games. And I wonder if maybe Trevor Williams will actually get some reps in during that doubleheader. This is very different than what Buck Showalter said the first week of the season, where he said, I want everybody to get playing time. I want everybody to get some reps in. Like when he brought Trevor Williams into the Sunday game against the Nationals in the 8th inning in a really close ball game. And as far as the position players, obviously you got the catchers, Jason McCann and Tomas Nido. We won't really talk about that right now. That's a topic for another video, or probably on Mets Weekly. We talk about it a lot. But in the infield, you got Alonso, JD, Eduardo Escobar, Luis Guillorme, Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil. You feel pretty good about those guys. JD Davis is the guy that really stands out because you just don't know what the role is going to be for him. With Robinson Cano gone now and JD Davis is going to start against left-handers, if he's still not performing that great and he's not hitting on a consistent basis, it really would make sense for the Mets to move on from JD Davis and try to get somebody who fits his team better. Because if JD is not hitting, he's not going to bring you much value because we don't trust him at third base. We definitely don't trust him in left field, and he can't play anywhere else. And he also doesn't bring that much speed, so he's not a guy you could bring off the bench as a speed guy. The only thing that JD Davis has going for him right now is the fact that he's right-handed, because the other bench players on the Mets, like Travis Jankowski and Luis Guillorme, are left-handed. And then both catchers are right-handed, but you're not going to use either one of those guys in a pitch-hitting situation anytime soon. And then as far as the outfield, you have Mark Cano, Travis Jankowski, Sterling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, and on Mets.com, they have Dom Smith listed as an outfielder, but we know he's a first baseman / DH. Luckily, the Mets have not been putting Dom Smith in left field. That shows you that this team is in a much better situation as now than it was in years past. And the outfielders, I feel pretty good about. I think Travis Jankowski has done a nice job as being a guy who every now and then starts, but for the most part, defensive replacement. Guy comes in with some speed. I like what he's bringing to the table. And other than that, I can't really have too many major complaints for a team that's won its first 7 series of the season, is in first place, and now they get a pretty good test for the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta's a team that's given the Mets a lot of fits the past few years. And the main reason why the Mets have not been able to win the division is because the Atlanta Braves have been winning the division and doing really well in those head-to-head matchups. So this will be a great test for New York Mets. A 4-game set. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, let me know what you think about the Mets roster, what moves you think they could make to maybe move on from somebody like a JD Davis and who would fit this team better. Try to be realistic as always. But until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy. Let's go Mets, and see ya, Robinson Cano.